For more than a year, unidentified drones hovered over some of Europe's most sensitive military sites. Nuclear bases, airfields, naval facilities. Now, investigators say they are highly likely to have been part of a coordinated Kremlin operation. Russia was not just spying on Europe. It was testing how close it could get to the continent's nuclear heart. For 18 months, something was watching Europe's most guarded military sites, and almost nobody could stop it. A new investigation by the International Institute for Strategic Studies has traced a sweeping drone surveillance campaign across more than a dozen NATO countries, with striking confidence and almost no resistance. The report examined 144 separate incidents beginning in late 2024. Many of them clustered around nuclear infrastructure in Britain, France, Belgium, and the Netherlands. Time and again, drones slipped into restricted airspace and slipped back out, never intercepted, never brought down.
It is our assessment that it is highly likely that the Kremlin conducted a coordinated UAV campaign over Europe.
RAF Lakenheath in Suffolk was among the first targets, with unusual drones spotted flying low over the base in late November 2024. The base would go on to house US nuclear weapons the following July. Investigators believe the aircraft may have launched from vessels loitering offshore, including a cargo ship docked at Hull at the time.
Russian motivations are considered to be a mixture of nuclear surveillance, general reconnaissance, mapping military logistics and supply chains, and economic attrition and psychological warfare.
France's Île Longue submarine base, home to the country's sea-launched nuclear arsenal, saw 5 drones detected overhead in December 2025, with Russia-linked vessels tracked between 60 and 120 miles out at sea. Similar incursions struck Belgium's Kleine Brogel and the Netherlands Volkel airbase around the same period. Both sites known to store air launched American nuclear weapons. Investigators believe many of the drones launched from so-called dark sailing ships, vessels that switch off their transponders to avoid detection. A tactic researchers say draws directly on techniques refined during the war in Ukraine.
The identification of 2 Russian private military contractors confirmed the militarization of Shadow Fleet tankers, not as hypothesis, but as operational practice.
One case in particular stood out. A tanker called the Boracay was boarded by French commandos in September 2025 near Denmark, an operation that forced Copenhagen Airport to shut down amid the surrounding drone activity. On board, investigators found a Chinese captain and 2 Russian nationals tied to a private military firm. Sightings peaked sharply last year, with more than 30 recorded in September and again in November, Germany bearing the brunt. Numbers have since fallen, coinciding with a wave of European naval seizures of Shadow Fleet vessels through 2026. Researchers say the motive was never simple espionage. It was reconnaissance, mapping, and above all, a message. NATO fighter jets were scrambled to intercept a Russian surveillance aircraft in a tense aerial encounter that unfolded just hours after Ukraine signaled agreement to a temporary ceasefire with Vladimir Putin for Orthodox Easter. The timing has raised fresh questions about Moscow's intentions, with the incident cutting through what was expected to be a brief pause in hostilities. According to NATO officials, the Russian aircraft was detected flying close to Alliance airspace, prompting an immediate response. Fighter jets were deployed to intercept and shadow the plane as it approached sensitive zones near Eastern Europe. The aircraft, widely reported to be a Russian reconnaissance or spy plane, did not enter NATO airspace. However, its proximity was enough to trigger a rapid military response, underlining the heightened alert levels across the region. The interception reportedly took place near Polish airspace, a frontline NATO state bordering Ukraine and a critical hub for military logistics supporting Kyiv. Poland's armed forces confirmed the operation, emphasizing that such incidents have become increasingly frequent since the start of the war in Ukraine.
Putin's spy plane was flying in international waters without a filed flight plan and with its transponder turned off. Such provocative actions by the Russian Federation do not go unanswered. We are vigilant, responsive, and constantly ready to protect Polish airspace.
The Polish Operational Command said that the country's airspace was not breached during the Russian mission.
Interceptions of aircraft do not constitute a demonstration of force, but are one of the basic tools for ensuring real control over a state's airspace. Their purpose is the rapid identification of objects that do not respond to calls from air traffic services, move without the required flight plan, or violate applicable rules.
The development came at a particularly sensitive moment. Western analysts argue that such aerial maneuvers are part of a broader pattern. Since the war began, Russian military aircraft have repeatedly flown close to NATO airspace without filing flight plans or communicating with civilian air traffic control. These actions are seen as both a show of force and a method of gathering intelligence. NATO's response has been consistent. Jets are scrambled, aircraft are identified, and escorts are conducted to ensure there is no breach of alliance territory. Despite the routine nature of these encounters, the context remains volatile. The proximity of Russian military activity to NATO borders, particularly during a supposed ceasefire window, reinforces concerns that the conflict remains unpredictable and prone to sudden escalation. A covert Russian submarine operation near British waters has triggered fresh alarm across NATO, underscoring rising tensions beneath the surface of the North Atlantic. According to UK officials, Russian submarines conducted a month-long secret mission in waters north of Britain, operating close to critical undersea infrastructure, including data cables and energy pipelines. The activity, tracked by British and Allied forces, is believed to have involved both an attack submarine and specialised deep-sea vessels designed for covert operations. UK Defence Secretary John Healey revealed that the operation was closely monitored, with the Royal Navy and Royal Air Force deploying warships, surveillance aircraft, and hundreds of personnel to track the Russian vessels around the clock. At Downing Street on Thursday, Healey said,
To President Putin, I say we see you. We see your activity over our cables and our pipelines, and you should know that any attempt to damage them will not be tolerated and will have serious consequences.
Officials believe one of the submarines, an Akula-class nuclear-powered vessel, may have acted as a decoy, drawing attention away from two other submarines linked to Russia's deep-sea research division, known for its ability to map and potentially sabotage underwater infrastructure.
In response to the Russian submarines, I can confirm that I deployed our armed forces to track and to deter any malign activity by these vessels.
While there is no evidence that any infrastructure was damaged during the operation, officials say the intent was clear. The submarines were operating within Britain's exclusive economic zone and nearby Allied waters, signalling a growing willingness by Moscow to probe Western defences. British and Allied forces ultimately saw off the submarines after sustained monitoring, forcing them to retreat. However, the incident highlights a broader pattern of increasingly assertive Russian naval activity, particularly in areas critical to Western infrastructure and security. The UK has responded by stepping up surveillance and coordination with NATO partners, including Norway, to counter what it sees as a persistent and evolving threat beneath the waves.
Our armed forces left them in no doubt that they were being monitored, that their movements were not covert as President Putin planned, and that their attempted secret operation had been exposed.
As tensions between Russia and the West continue to rise, the North Atlantic is once again emerging as a critical theatre, where covert operations, surveillance, and deterrence are increasingly shaping the balance of power.